Tracy Alexander. I'm the anchor of a show called Perspectives on I-24 News, based here in Israel, in Jaffa, Tel Aviv. It's my honour to be your host for this evening. Now, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the State of Israel, and as such, it makes it all the more profound to have you all here together to talk and learn more about Israel, the home of the Jewish people. Now tonight, you're sitting here inside Zedekiah's cave, the very spot that King Herod used as a quarry, the main quarry, for the building blocks used to renovate the temple and its retaining walls, known as the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall. Now, the love and care that we all share for Israel is perhaps one of the common denominators between everyone in this room tonight, and it's what's brought many of us here today. And in turn, the State of Israel values greatly its connection with the Jewish people in the diaspora, and it's often through your networks that serves as the bridge between the news and affairs happening here in Israel and your audience. Now, the Government Press Office is committed to the tradition of this media summit that's now in its 4th year, in the hope that it will continue to strengthen the critical relationship between Israel and the diaspora. Now, with Jews living outside of Israel reportedly becoming increasingly detached from their Jewish identity, as well as Israel, this conference hopes to address that issue by exploring a trend which is becoming of increasing concern to Israel, especially where the younger generations are concerned. Now, as a TV anchor and journalist at I-24 News, here broadcasting to the world, I can assure you that many of the topics that will be discussed and covered in this conference are beneficial, constructive and useful in many ways, and not only in the Israeli context. Now, on a personal note, I can tell you that the task of communicating the very complex and layered story of Israel's past and present isn't something I ever imagined while cooking kosher shrimp on the barbie back down under. I remember thousands of miles away in Sydney, Australia, during a journalism class assignment, I asked my class to try and find Israel on a map. I remember to this day the looks on their faces as they discovered this country that is 1/3 of the size of Australia's smallest state, Tasmania, and yet the whole world seemed to be talking about it. Now, from thousands of miles away, while observing the international news coverage of events here in Israel, I often wondered, how does a country with such rich history that continues to shape the entire world today communicate a narrative that is so unique, with such unique challenges to those living abroad who aren't living it daily? How can they expect to even understand it, and in no less than 3-minute sound bites? Well, now that I'm here and trying to do it myself, let's just say it's beneficial as a place of worship on every corner. Now, you're no doubt acutely aware that Israel works every day on improving its image and accurately representing itself on the world stage, and the GPO has prepared a short video to give you a glimpse into what they're committed to 365 days a year. Let's take a look. I would like to invite to the stage Nitzan Fen, Director of the Government Press Office. Now, the Government Press Office, as he comes up to the stage, just to introduce him, is responsible on behalf of the Prime Minister's Office for coordination between the Government of Israel and the community of journalists and media personnel working in Israel. And for the Foreign Press Corps, of course, the GPO serves as the central address for contact with the government and the Israel Defense Forces.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. It is a really pleasure to welcome you here tonight for the opening of the 3rd Jewish Media Summit. Thank you. We at the GPO do not take for granted that almost 100 media specialists from around the world have found the time in their very busy schedule to come to Israel, to continue to be involved in consolidating the ties between the Jewish world and Israel, in order to invest in the future of the Jewish people, to secure the future of the land of Israel, and we appreciate that very, very much. Thank you to the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, the Ministry for Jerusalem and Heritage, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, and of course, thank you to my colleagues at the Government Press Office for all the hard work and support. Toda raba. Together, we hope that this summit will follow in the footsteps of previous conferences that we had before. Provide us with food for thought and healthy debate, further fuel and inspiration for our tasks as the voice of the Jewish people everywhere, and we hope, of course, that this will include a good time too. However, we decided to take this bull by the horns and address a prickly topic this year with our title, Israel and the Jewish World, Relationship, It's Complicated. This is the topic of this summit. This year has seen some uncomfortable and complicated moments between Israel and the world Jewry. There have been moments of a real tension and discord, and yet the tragic event in Pittsburgh and prior to that in Paris and other cities have shown us that as in the times of stress and sorrow, our faith in each other, in our identity and our Jewishness are as strong as the fifth rock in this fascinating venue tonight. As you know, in Judaism, we mark 30 days after a death or tragedy, so we thought it would be appropriate to mark the martyrs in Pittsburgh in our own way. So tomorrow, after the breakfast, together 160 journalists from almost 30 countries will form a human Star of David, Magen David, for an aerial shot with the number 11 at the center, to show our solidarity with victims of Pittsburgh and the victims everywhere of anti-Semitic attacks. The advent of BDS and the uptick in anti-Semitic acts which are become socially acceptable are one of the main issues of our summit, and we will discuss strategies how to deal with this. I have to stress that your presence here is a testament to firm foundations of our Jewish spirit. Whenever I come here, I am amazed to think that thousands of years ago, huge stones, as we see here, were cut from this rock and taken to build the very wall that we pray to every day, and we have prayed to for millennia. They believe that this is our land, that this is our common destiny, together, and the Jewish people are like these rocks. When you look at the walls of Jerusalem in different times of the day, they may seem one color or another. Sometimes more golden, sometimes a rose color in the morning light, different point of view, different colors. But the stones cut from this cave have stayed the same, strong and beautiful, like the different facets of our Jewish world. We see them in different lights, recognize the beauty that we have together, and realize that we are strong and even stronger together. Welcome to everyone here this evening. Welcome to the summit. Welcome to Jerusalem, and let the party begin. But one more point. Before we begin the fun party this evening, the Prime Minister Netanyahu was meant to address us this evening in person, but something came out, always something came out, but we're still thinking that we might meet him personally on Wednesday, when we have a special day for the Knesset, for the resident president, and the foreign ministry. We might meet the Prime Minister, but let the party goes with or without the Prime Minister. Thank you very much.
Now, as mentioned, let the party get started. In English, there's a saying that laughter is the best medicine. And if that's the case, I'd now like to invite you to introduce you to our doctor for the evening, comedian Avi Lieberman. Now, Avi was born in Israel, but grew up in the United States. He's appeared on numerous television shows across the US. He, in fact, has performed for troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And twice a year, he brings groups of comedians to Israel to perform with the proceeds of those events from tickets benefiting the Kobe Mendel Foundation. And he will be performing across the week and across the month here in Israel. So with no further ado, I'd like to invite to the stage Avi Lieberman.
It is great to be here. Welcome, everybody. It is great for me to be here. This is my 4th show in a cave this week, so I have to talk about what's going on. This is actually already a dream gig for me because I don't need to worry about anyone's cell phones going off. So that right there, out of the gate with your shade. And actually, it's fascinating for me to be so close to the Kotel, to hear that these are the walls that kept that foundation up. Because the last time I was in Israel, there's a friend of mine who lives here, and he told me, I am single personally, and he told me, you know, Avi, if you go to the Kotel, I don't know if you people have heard this, if you go to the Kotel 40 days in a row, and pray at the Kotel 40 days in a row, he said you will meet your Basher, you'll meet your soulmate. So I, of course, teased him and thought that was completely ridiculous, but to his credit, he went 40 days in a row, and shortly thereafter, he divorced his wife and found his Basher. So, actually, yeah, it's great to be here. Actually, I had a bit of an awkward. I got here right before Shabbat. How many people got in on Friday? Applaud if you got in. Yes. So you had a nice Shabbat here in Jerusalem?
Tel Aviv.
Oh, you're in Tel Aviv. Oh, so it didn't really happen. All right. So here in Jerusalem. Now, actually, I spent Shabbat here. I had a bit of an awkward situation last Shabbat. I'm not going to say where I was. I was back in the U.S. in a particular city. I had another show on a Sunday, and I spent Shabbat there. And at the synagogue I went to, they were very nice, very friendly. They gave me an aliyah. They gave me hagba, for those of you who don't know that, you know, when the Torah scroll is lifted above the congregation. But it happened to be a particularly heavy scroll. So when I lifted it, I went, Jesus, this is heavy, which I probably shouldn't have said. And I was concerned because the rabbi of the synagogue was standing right next to me, but he shot right back and went, for Christ's sake, so drop it. And actually, I was here, the last time I was here was over the Sukkot holiday. I always love coming here during the holidays. I think as Jews, right, no matter where we stand, do we not have great holidays? Can we applaud for our holidays? Yeah. Here's what I found, and I find this fascinating as journalists. You probably guys have to deal with this all the time, explaining our holidays to people that are not Jewish. You ever try to do that? Yeah, some are fairly simple, some not so much, right? Like, I find you have to relate it to things that they have, right? Like, what's the first holiday we have on our calendar is what? Rosh Hashanah, right. I find that pretty easy. Like, how would you explain Rosh Hashanah to someone that isn't Jewish? That's what? New Year's. Right, New Year's without the fun. That's sort of pretty easy how I explain it, right? And after Rosh Hashanah, of course, we have what? No, Tzom Yadai. It's a trick question. Don't worry. I never knew. Do you guys know what that? You know Tzom Yadai? We've heard of it? Tzom Yadai, by the way, that's a minor fast day. Here's what I've realized in Judaism. We have major fast days. I think two, Yom Kippur, we know, right? And a Tisha B'Av, and then the rest are kind of minor. Here's what I've realized, at least in the more traditional Jewish community. Every minor fast day starts the same way, with a phone call to your buddy going like this. Yeah, are you doing this one? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really on the fence. You know what? Call Mike, see if he's doing it. Because he's more religious than both of us. If he's not doing it, I'm not doing it. No, don't call Dave. Because he's a Baal Tshuva and they're insane. Don't call him. Don't call him. And actually, no, I met my good buddy Monty right in the back there. He's a Chabad. Do we have any Chabad people here? Where are the Maslikim? Yes, a few of you. I'm a big fan of Chabad. I'll tell you why. Because actually, I did a show for Chabad right before I came here. Chabad, here's what I found about Chabad. This is true. Very welcoming, right? Doesn't matter what your background is. They will welcome you in with open arms. Yet, they are able to maintain their personal own level of stringency, right? Which can be a difficult balancing act, but Chabad guys do it. It's like if you walk up to a Chabad guy and go, is that restaurant kosher? 100% kosher. You can eat there whenever you want, not a problem. We don't eat there, but for you... No, I'm just fine. We'd rather eat pork and Yom Kippur, but for you, no problem whatsoever. Yeah. And I would say, though, when it comes to our holidays, though, let's go to our next one on the holiday, of course, is on the calendar, is Yom Kippur, right? Then applaud if you made it in synagogue the whole way on Yom Kippur. I'm just curious. You made it right here, sir, in the front? Okay. And did your mind wander at all during the service?
Maybe.
Yes, so I'll take that as a yes. It's okay, but it's a halt. It is a long service. But if your mind does begin to wander this upcoming year, just don't make the same mistake I did. I went, you know what? I'm just going to see how much more we have to go here. Let me just see how much. Don't ever do that, because it's never anything positive. It's never, 3 pages, yay. It's always, you've got to be kidding me. Who wrote this? This is insane. What is going on? And then you start doing that Moxor math in your head, right? 216, 395 for the, oh wait, this is an art scroll, half English divided by 2. Everyone, did you fast easy? Were you a pretty decent faster? Yeah, here's what I found. Everyone right before the holiday starts all of a sudden becomes a biology major on how to beat it. And every suggestion is stupider than the next. You want to drink 15 gallons of water 3 weeks preceding the holiday, and then you want to crush aspirin and put it over a kale salad, eat that right before. Like, it's going to suck. Just deal with it. I don't know what the problem is. A friend of mine, actually, my friend who converted very recently, right? She converted, was not Jewish, her husband is, and converted, I would say, not in the most stringent of fashions, but I saw her, and I wished her a Shana Tova. She said Shana Tova back, and I said to her, oh, this is the first year you're going to be fasting. And she goes, oh, I'm not doing that. I go, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, well, that doesn't speak to me. It doesn't speak to anyone. I go, what's that? You don't get to do the fun stuff and leave out the hard stuff. That's not how Judaism works, all right? We focus on the hard. That's like me going into a church on Christmas Day and going, yeah, I understand you guys get gifts. We get the gifts today. Is that how that works? I have to give them also? Yeah, that doesn't speak to me. I'd rather not. So, yeah, actually, some of the holidays, the next one we have, a big one coming up, is Hanukkah, right? How would you explain Hanukkah to someone that isn't Jewish? That's pretty easy. What's Hanukkah?
No,
Christmas, but longer. That's easy, right? That's simple.
Actually, money to kids.
Yeah. Well, actually, out of all the holidays we have, I think there's only one, right, that is more fun, that's cooler than anything that exists in the Gentile world. Which one would you say? Our most fun holiday? Purim. I agree, Purim. But how would you, sir, what's your name, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Alan. How would you explain Purim to someone that isn't Jewish? What is that? Right, Halloween and St. Patrick's Day.
And Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
I'm from New Orleans.
Right, yeah, you're supposed to get drunk, right? That's the rule. I'm not making this up. You can ask her out, you're Ad Lo Yada. You're supposed to, that's the only holiday you can walk out of your house with a bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand, vodka in the other, your neighbor can look at you. Where are you going? Synagogue. Have fun at church, loser. Right? That's it. Yeah, actually, out of all the holidays we have, most people make this mistake. You know what the most popular holidays? People think it's the high holidays. More Jews do this, actually, than anything else. What is it? That's correct. Attended Passover Seder. What amazes me about Passover, that's such a daunting holiday. We have rules about Passover before the holiday even starts. Did you know that you are not supposed to eat matzah the entire month leading up to Passover? This is true because the rabbis say you're supposed to enjoy the matzah at the Passover Seder for the first time. Yeah, I'd like to focus on the word enjoy if we could for 1 second. Has anyone here ever walked into someone's home? You know what I'd really enjoy right now? Do you have a flat, tasteless cracker that'll constipate me for about 16, 17 hours? We have some matzah. Oh my God, that would be perfect. Oh, wait a minute. You know what I just realized? It's Passover in 28 days. I don't want to ruin the enjoyment that I'm going to be feeling. I finally need to finish that. Of going to your doctor and him telling you, Mike, you need a colonoscopy. I'm going to schedule one in about 4 weeks. In between now and then, I don't want you getting other colonoscopies to ruin the enjoyment that you're going to be feeling when I finally administer one myself. Total buzzkill, that would happen. Who here hosted a Seder? Alan, did you host a Seder?
No.
Oh, who hosted one? Who hosted it? Applaud if you hosted one. Right. Oh, Esther, you hosted one? What time did you finish your Seder? 12 after midnight. That's pretty good. You guys know the rule, right? Whoever finishes later is more holy. You guys play that game, you know? 12:30. 1:08. You know what I do? I come into synagogue the following morning and I go, yeah, we haven't even eaten yet. How about them apples? That's how religious we are. Yeah. What amazing, Passover too, it could be much shorter, right? But I just think the rabbis, are there any rabbis here tonight? Anybody here a rabbi? No? Good. Let's talk about this. Oh, one in the back there. All right. What's your name, sir? Uri. Oh, well, you I know. I'm not going down that path. All right. Actually, Uri, you can back me up on this. If I'm not mistaken, rabbis' jobs in Judaism is to make Judaism as humanly difficult as possible, right? Because the Passover Seder, I think about it, it could be much shorter. It could just be you go in there, say Kiddush, tell the story of the Exodus, eat, birkat hamazon, grace after meals, out, you're goodbye. But I just picture the rabbis getting together a couple thousand years ago. Let's see, we have this holiday Passover. How do we drag this out as long as humanly possible? You know what? Instead of the Exodus, why don't we do all of Jewish history? All of it, all right? All of it. And just focus on the negative. Get the Romans in there, negative, negative, depressing. You know what? Put some stinking math in there too. 10 plagues is really 15 times 9 divided by pi. That'll drive me nuts. All right. You gotta let them eat. And just when they think they're out of there, that's when you put Hallel in, for no reason whatsoever. Oh, what's that song? Who knows one? I know one. Who knows two? That drags on 35 minutes. Put that in there, wrap it up in the nursery rhyme, we'll call it a night. So actually, there is actually a common number that appears during the Seder. Which one would you say? What is it? 4. Right, very good. We have 4 what? Right, we got the 4 sons. Right, Alan, do you know the 4 sons?
Yes.
Who are the 4 sons?
The wise, the wicked, the one who...
Dopey, sneezing. No, you know who they are. Come on, right? Wise, wicked, who are the last 2?
and the one who knows not to ask.
Right, simple, and doesn't know how to act. Very good. Give Alan a round of applause. I think that should be updated, right? That should be updated for like modern parents, right? Instead of like wise, wicked, simple, doesn't know how to ask, have gifted, behaviorally challenged, special ed, and Asperger's. Doesn't make more sense? I had a lady get in my face once. She was very upset. She was like, why is it 4 sons? Why not 4 daughters? Why can't it be 4 daughters? Which I think is a fair query, but I think that would change the dynamic of the questions being asked, right? Instead of like, why is society different from all other nights, it would be like, why do you hate me? Why do you hate my friends? Why do you think I'm fat? All right, change it back. Yeah. Some of the holidays, yeah, I don't think they get the press they deserve, like Shavuos, for example, right? Like, how would you explain, Rabbi, let's go to Rabbi Pilachowski. How would you explain Shavuos to someone that is Jewish? That's not so easy.
Cheesecake.
Yeah, right, that's all we got, because they don't have anything like that, right? Here's how I do it. I go, that's when Charlton Heston came down and they had the tablet. Oh yeah, I remember that part, right? But yeah, Shavuos again, I think it's, on paper, it's pretty simple, right? We have the cheesecake. What's the other big thing we do on Shavuos, Rabbi?
Study Torah.
Stay up all night and learn. Now, be honest, is that a rule? No, right, that's an honest rabbi for you. No, but again, the rabbis looked at it on paper and went, way too easy. How do we screw this up? I got an idea. What if we make them stay up all night and learn? I like that, that's pretty annoying. What do you mean till like midnight? I mean the whole stinking night, right? Because that'll ruin their body clocks, everybody will be pissed off the next day. I like it. Put it on paper, spread it around, that's fantastic. Yeah. Actually, and I left it out. By process of elimination, there is only one holiday we have that is impossible to explain to people that aren't Jewish. Don't even bother. What is it? Sukkot. Correct, Sukkot. No, Tu B'Shvat, that's Arbor Day. That's it. Yeah, Sukkot. Don't even bother, right? Even my friend Russell, who's not Jewish, he asked me to explain, even the way he pronounces it. What's that holiday you have? Suck it? Sukkot, that's not. That's not how you say it. Like the other one, shove it, Shavuot. Russell, stop trying to pronounce it. So he goes, all right, well, whatever, explain it to me. So I figure I'll give it a shot, but I realize, as I'm explaining it to him, I sound like a mental patient, right? He's like, we'll give it a shot. I'm like, okay, well, we build a hut, right? You're supposed to live in the hut, but nobody really lives in the hut, right? And then you take a palm, a myrtle, and a willow, and a really expensive kind of lemon, and you shake it all over the place. Here, are you on medication or something? How much is this lemon that isn't really a lemon? Well, some people pay a couple $100, right? But I'm really smart. I only pay like 100. What do you do with it when you're done? Normally we just, we throw it out. Or we make jam with it. Is the jam good? No, it sucks actually, it's awful. So there's actually, and to tell you the truth, I love coming back here. I'm Israeli myself, by the way. Where are the Israelis? Applaud where I have to say a quick apology on behalf of myself and the other Israelis here, at least back in the US. But if one more Israeli in America tries to sell me a Dead Sea product in a mall, I'm going to blow my brains out. I can't take anymore. Because they're everywhere, and because they haven't really learned the American sales technique yet, right? They insult you and then try to sell you the product, right? It's like, hey, you're offensive like garbage. Come here, I want to help you. Yeah, you. Yeah, come here. No, the fat guy, the fat one. Come here, I want to talk to you for a second. What, do you want to talk to me? I'm about to you. Go away. I said nothing. I don't want to talk to you. So, yeah, being Israeli, I found, I live in Los Angeles now currently, and I found being Israeli in LA can come in very handy, right? Actually, you know when it came in most handy, and I know this sounds crazy, I was in an auto accident, I was in a car accident, not my fault, nobody hurt, thank God, minor fender bender, and I had witnesses, so I thought I was safe, I was wrong. One of the witnesses was this Israeli guy, right, comes running up to me, not knowing I'm Israeli also, so I know what he's up to, ready to make a deal, ready to make big money. He's like, okay, listen to me, don't call your insurance, don't call nobody, all right? I know someone who knows a lawyer, we're gonna make big money. Me and you, big cash, they told the bank. I'm like, first of all, what do you mean by we? And second of all, how am I going to make any more money than the cost of the damage to the car? He goes, well, your neck hurts, your neck pain, huh? I go, no, my neck is fine. Well, back, lower back. No, my back is all right also. AIDS, maybe get AIDS from this, and then come on, right? So like an idiot, I ended up towing to his friend's garage, right? Now, you know how like when you bring your car to get it fixed, it's never ready on time, right? Ever. But at least the mechanics, they have an excuse. I'll come up with something, right? Well, the fan belts are broken, that's another $45,000, and you were leaking blinker fluid, that's whatever they come up with. These guys couldn't care less. I called them on the phone, yeah, it's 2 o'clock. You said the car be ready at 2, is it ready yet? No! Not even close. We haven't even touched it yet. We've made no effort at all. All right, well, when is the car going to be ready? 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the car will be ready. All right, are you lying to me? Yes. I'm not speaking to you. And how many people here flew on LO? People who came on LO? Collective came on LO. How was the flight, man? It's what? That didn't answer the question I asked, but okay, how old are you? Yes, I love cookies. They're excellent. So wait, you flew around LO? Oh, always take LO. You're right, is the rule's the same if I'm not mistaken. You have to get to LO, is it 9 to 10 hours early to get your flight? Last time I flew LO, I got there in plenty of time. I thought I was home free, right? I got on the plane, I got my window seat, very excited. Seated next to me is a black hat, ultra-Orthodox Hasidic Jew, and next to him is the most secular Israeli girl on the planet. So take a guess what happens? Right, freaks out. I'm not saying, the woman that is my wife, and I don't blame him, right? I blame the people at the ticket counter, because they know perfectly well this is a religious man, and you know they're just having a ball with this. So let's see a black hat, ultra-Orthodox Hasidic Jew. Yeah, let's see next to the chick in a bikini. Think that'll work. Have a good flight, sucker. So in the end, I switched. And he was actually a very nice guy. We started talking, but you know, a long flight. I fall asleep like everybody else. And then what must have been, I don't know, 4:35 in the morning. I'm getting elbowed by this guy. Get up, minion, back to the plane. We need you. Did you put on Phil this morning? It's 4:30 in the morning. No one's put on Phil. We need you for a minute right now. This whole plane is Jewish. We specifically need you. How was the service on LO, man? It's very good, right? Do you remember the old days, the 80s? It was a little different with the flight attendant pushing the cart of anger and hatred, hating your job. You know, what do you want, chicken or beef? I'll take the beef. We all have the beef. Would you even ask to just take the chicken, leave me alone, it's a long flight at the right time. And they're very professional now, right? When you get on the plane, the pilot gets on there, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to flight 206 to Tel Aviv, I'll be your pilot today. I'm not used to that. I remember the old days, guy going, hello, I'm Yossi, I'm the boss of the plane. If you're sitting in coach, too bad for you, make some more money, get into business class next time. First class service, we have a unit, I'm dating here, so keep your hands off. And don't dance along the flight, it's not F-16, I do what I can, okay, bye-bye. Yeah, and actually being here, I flew this route, I flew through London. Do we have any Brits here? Any English? It's all right, the Brits. I've been working on my London British accent. You guys want to hear? All right, here we go. Welcome to London. Have you been to Parliament or the... Yeah. I like when when I'm in England, I enjoy taking the subway, the tube as it's affectionately called, right? I like the tube in London because the only thing I can compare it to is New York. Do we have any New Yorkers here? We're the New Yorkers. It's a Trump. You like taking the subway, sir, in New York? Yeah, it's not bad. New York, I think, because in England it freaked me out. No crazy people down there. New York, crazy people all over the place. I think New York and LA, probably the best. I think New York has the edge on the best crazy people. I was in New York a little while back. I'm walking down Broadway, right, and this guy's walking towards me. No phone, no Bluetooth in his ear, nothing. And he's just going, okay, yeah. So as he passes me, right, I go, man, wait, take a look at this nut job. And then I realize, who the hell am I talking to, right? Nobody, right? Well, crazy was so good, it rubbed off. So, and sorry, how did you fly here? I'm just curious. Oh, you live here? Is this the whole live here section? That's how this works on the garden. All right, yeah. I should know how I flew here once, and I only did this for the experience. I did not pay for this flight. Is anybody familiar with the A380? Do you know what that plane is? Yes. Okay, so in the first class of the A380, they have a shower, you get your own room. This took me 2 months of calling. I did not pay for this. If you pay for it, it's $24,000, right? But the only airline that had it was Air Etihad, right? And I was coming to Israel, so I had to go LA to New York, Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi to Amman, Jordan, and then I took a cab to the Allenby Bridge and I crossed that way, right? My friend said it's safe, don't worry about it, but he said, listen, you know, when you're there, make sure you get into a regular cab from the the cab stand in Jordan. Don't go to the regular guys. And it's a little bit weird. You get out and they're like, Hamas Express? I'm like, no, I don't want that cab. ISIS yellow cab? No, that just wears the officials. So, here's the funny thing. When I get to the border, and he told me, he said, it's perfectly safe, but you have to pay another $100 to go on this VIP service, but keep a low profile. But, so it's me and all these Palestinians. They were very nice, just businessmen mostly. But one of them asked me, goes, so what's your name? I go, Chris. Chris Christensen. From Corpus Christi. Yes, how are you? So, and actually, when I crossed the border, it was worth it just to see the look on the Israeli Border Patrol guy's face when I crossed over, because I switched to my Israeli passport and I give it to him, and he must have done 15 of these. He looks at me and he goes, it's mostly Palestinians that come this way. I'm like, yeah, I'm fully aware, based on the group I was hanging out with on the other side. And then he asked me a question, which you should never really ask a smart-ass comic. He goes, how do you normally come to Israel? How do I normally come to Israel? Well, normally I fly to Lebanon and burrow a tunnel underneath it. Today I thought I'd mix that. I do love coming to Israel. One of my favorite places, this is how I know this conference is great. Did you guys get the cards to go through the Machane of the Shuk? Machane Yehuda? We've been through there already? Applaud if you've been to Machane Yehuda. I love it. Yeah, it's fun. Here's what I realized though. The Shuk of either the Shuk of Carmel in Tel Aviv, Machane Yehuda here, that only works in Hebrew, right? Screaming the product you have right in front of your face, right? That wouldn't work in America. You're never going to go to America and have somebody standing there going, bread, 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 bread. I have bread. I have tomatoes. I have bread. Yeah, I can see it, guys. Relax. It's right in front of your face. I actually say one of my favorite places to go, and I know out of all the great places, I'm doing on time. Oh, okay. Out of all the great places to go here, I know this sounds absurd. If you get a chance, and actually this conference is smart, so use this ticket. Marzipan Bakery, do we know it? Okay, what are they famous for? Correct, the chocolate royals. I have it in my freezer as we speak. I'm running low, so I'm glad I'm here to pick up some more. Here's the beauty. They're not dumb. They know that the foreigners love it, right? So they actually have air-sealed boxes they will pack for you on the plane, right? So you can take it with you. Just my luck, the last time I was here, the guy was out of the air-sealed boxes, right? But he goes behind the guy, he goes, look, don't worry about it. I put it in a cardboard box, and I push it, and close it, and shove it. It's the same. Like, yeah, no, it's not. Look, I take it and push it and close it. It's the same. I'm like, it's not the same. He goes, look, I've been doing this for 15 years, okay? I know what I'm talking about. So apparently, if you're Israeli and have been doing something for a long time, you can defy the laws of physics, which is amazing. So, whatever, I bought it anyway. And I realized that, as I'm leaving there, Agrippa Street, you know that one, right? Constant traffic jams, right? Always traffic, no different the day I am there. And there's this Israeli guy stuck in traffic, right? His windows are rolled down, radio blaring. He has the song Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. And he's singing along, right? But like most Israelis, he has the words totally wrong, right? And he doesn't care. He's just like, Billie Jean, she the one. You know the girl, and you look at, he's the son. But the kid, he's the number one, right? So after a while, I couldn't resist. I finally leaned in this one. I go, look, buddy, you know you've got the words totally wrong, right? He goes, look, I've been singing this song for 15 years, okay? Yeah, and actually when we're here, normally I stay in Tel Aviv most of the time. Right across from the street at the hotel, there is a Russian bar. Where are the Russian Jews? Woo! There we go. I'm raised also right, yes? One thing I learned about the Russians, especially the Russian Israelis, never let a Russian fix your computer. It's a scary situation. I'll tell you why. What's your name, sir? Lev. Lev? Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah, that's me. Okay, don't get hostile. What scares me? I had a computer problem, and I had my friend Mark. He goes, I got my buddy Alexei. He'll come in, just don't ask any questions, right? He came in, fixed it in 5 minutes, and then he explained to me what the problem was. He goes, you have a virus inside your computer, so I remove it. I know the guy who makes it, my friend Alexei back in Moscow. So I send people to beat him severely, so this won't happen again. He scared the crap out of me, right? I know this guy, so I just wanted him out of my house. I just like, well, how much do I owe for this? He goes, it's on the house, not the problem. I go, are you sure? He goes, look, if I need some money, I take from your bank account when necessary. And this is, I always enjoy coming to this. It's a fun time for me. People ask me this, like, was this always my job? This was not always my job. You know what I used to do? I used to be a teaching assistant for elementary school kids. Do we have anybody here a teacher? Any teachers? Back at, what age group do you work with? Back at high school? Yeah. All right, you enjoy it? Yeah, I work mostly with little kids. You know what the big game was at recess for my kids? Tetherball. Do you guys know what this game is? I'll explain tetherball if you don't know it. That's where the point of the game is you hit a ball on a string, right? Yeah, till you break your face. It's the stupidest game. And I learned this, children out on the playground, they have their own language out there, they've got their own lingo, right? Some kid comes up to me, I don't know what he's talking about. I said, yeah, I called the double tapsies, and then he did 2 string seats, but I called no 2sies, and then she said no backsies. Why don't usies get the hell away from easies? How about that, all right? I'm in the middle of a poker game with the 8th graders, and I'm down $10 to keep up. And the one thing I never liked about it, I had to help fill out progress reports and report cards. Do you have to do that?
Yeah.
You like doing that? No. What do you write if you have a bad kid? I'm just curious. Do you really? That's brutally honest. Did the mic go out? Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, because you can't be honest, right? Here's what they would tell me. They'd say, look, Avi, we don't want to deal with the politics. I don't care how bad this kid is. Try to find something positive to say, which to me doesn't make any sense because it doesn't address the problem, right? Did with me. My report card did the same thing every year, right? Avi's very bright, has a lot of potential, but he has trouble focusing. He doesn't pay attention as long as he should, right? So I'd get the report card, I'd read it, right? Avi's very bright and has a lot of potential. Oh, great! Then I wouldn't finish reading the rest because I had trouble focusing and didn't pay attention. And by the way, as parents, applaud if you're a parent. We're all parents here? Most of us parents? Yes, I think it's parents' job to read between the lines, right, as to what teachers might really mean on a progress report. For example, what if one comes back and it says, I love your child's energy? What does that really mean?
ADD.
Right, ADD. Hyper. Get this kid on Ritalin, Vicodin, and heroin for all we care. Shut us up. Can't take. How about this one? Strong leadership abilities. What's that? Right, bossy, bully, probably a gang leader. Look into it. It's a little tougher. Creative. What does that mean? Creative? Nope, can't do math, right? Yeah. And plays well with others? Drug dealer. You just want to all right, well, I'm going to wrap this up. Actually, I get this up. Yeah, thank you. One more thing. I get asked this all the time. Where's the most interesting places I've ever performed? And I have to say, I love coming to Israel, but one of the most interesting ones I ever did, that is true, what Tracy said. I got to go to Iraq and Afghanistan to do shows for the troops, which is an amazing experience. And I get asked 2 questions the most about that experience. First one is, it wasn't that scary, was it? I'm like, no, yeah, tell it was. And the second one is, what was the scariest part? And I'd probably say convoying through downtown Kabul, Afghanistan. That's no joke. And one thing I realized about the guys in the U.S. Army, because I was looking for any fluffy, positive feedback about the war zone that I was in, these guys are going to tell you the truth about where you are, and if it scares you, too bad. I was like, the area where we're going, it's not too bad, is it? No, it's pretty bad, man. Really, really bad where you're about to go. Okay, but the time of day when we're leaving, yeah, this time of day is the worst. I'm surprised they have you leaving now. Okay, but the neighborhood that we're convoying through, yeah, it's called Suicide Circle. Look up, I can do that. All right, look, man, is there anything positive you can tell me? If you make it, breakfast is pretty good. I was like, what the heck? So the first time we went, we had a choice of 2 drivers, right? First guy, very straight-laced, by-the-book guy from the Midwest. Second guy, grizzled old 20-year veteran from Texas, where I grew up. So they asked me who I wanted to ride, so I figure I'll ask them a couple of questions, make my decision on who to ride with from that, right? Makes sense? So I go up to the first guy, I'm like, what happens if a car you don't like gets too close? What do you do? He goes, well, we follow procedure. Try to maneuver away from the vehicle. If that doesn't work, fire some warning shots, then shots at the car. Worst case scenario, shots at the driver. All right, let's check with the guy from Texas, see what he has to say. So same question, what happens if a car you don't like gets too close? He goes, well, there's an order where we're supposed to do stuff. Shoot them up real good in there someplace. So I should just start off with that one, check off real early. So far, I'm leaning towards him, right? But let me be thorough. I'll go back to the first guy. What happens if something or someone is blocking the road? Then what? He goes, well, we follow procedure again. Try to maneuver around the obstacle. If that doesn't work, warning shot. Okay, let's check with my new buddy from Texas and see what he has to say. So same question. What happens if something or someone is blocking the road? He goes, you're going to feel a bump. All right with him. Hey, guys, that's it for me. Thanks so much for joining us.
For a tiny nation like Israel, wedged in between oftentimes hostile neighbors, of course, we know that Avi oftentimes gets to Israel via one of those underground he mentioned. One of its most important assets are its bilateral relationships. And it's for this reason that Israel places its very best diplomats at the forefront of this charge, with its ambassadors seen as holding one of the most important posts to ensure the country's ongoing prosperity. Tonight, we are graced by one of Israel's star players in the field. I'm honoured to invite Member of Knesset, Ambassador Michael Oren, to the stage.
So we're in Zedekiah's cave. And Zedekiah, for those of you who don't know from history, was the last Judean king before the Babylonian conquest and destruction of the first temple. He was captured. He tried to navigate between the Assyrians, the Egyptians, and the Babylonians, not very successfully. Ultimately, he was captured He was taken in chains out of the city after hiding in this cave, and he witnessed his sons being put to death, and then his eyes were gouged out, and he was captured off into captivity. Okay? Today, in government, they only kill you in the internet. Okay? I think we have problems with hearts. These guys are a little bit stronger problems. But I think the message of Zedekiah is one that we should take note of today in government, in Israel's foreign policy. Israel, in spite of our immense achievements in innovation and in building bilateral relations around the world, remains, at the end of the day, a very small country. And we have to navigate through some very mighty neighbors sometimes, whether it be the Russians in the north and the Iranians and the United States and others. And we have to do so very, very cautiously. We have to be constantly aware of a calculus of changes, of opportunities, and of risks. In recent weeks, we've been witness to several acute cases in which Israel had to navigate very, very delicately through these type of, this sort of matrix, this minefield, if you will, of challenges, opportunities, and risks. Several weeks ago, we had something of the order of 460 rockets fired at us by Hamas from the Gaza Strip. I had the distinct displeasure of being in charge of the Gaza humanitarian situation from the Israeli government for about a year and a half, and concluded earlier on that the situation was virtually hopeless, not because of what Israel was doing. Israel actually had the only open crossing into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing with a capacity of about 1,200 trucks per day. We have a maritime blockade of the Gaza Strip, which is recognized as legal by the United Nations, but which does not interdict the shipments of food or of medicines or even of toys, but only of armaments and materials that can also be used as armaments. But Hamas had an interest in maintaining a low-level humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Hamas burnt the Kerem Shalom crossing no less than 3 times. It actually burnt the fuel lines under the Kerem Shalom crossing that brought fuel that would have powered electricity in Gaza. Hamas had an interest in a low-level humanitarian cases in Gaza that would enable Hamas to say to the world, look what the Jews are doing to us, give us money. That's pretty much what it's about. But on top of that, the situation of Abu Mazen, the president of the Palestinian Authority, who wanted to make a low-level humanitarian crisis in Gaza into a very low-level humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And he did so by cutting off the salaries of about 50,000 state workers in Gaza, cutting off pension rights, cutting off the funding for Palestinians who receive medical treatment in Israel every day. And the goal was to drive Hamas into a corner and get Hamas to shoot at us, because Mahmoud Abbas wanted to fight Hamas to the last Israeli soldier, okay? And he wanted, at the end of the day, to sue us for war crimes when we finished defeating Hamas in Gaza. Then on top of everything else, you had Iran. You had Iran, who wanted to fight Israel to the last Palestinian in Gaza, wanted to push Hamas into a fight there, and so embroiled Israel in a series of tactical wars that would bleed our army, exhaust our treasury, demoralize our population, war after war after war, while Iran built up strategic threats to Israel in Syria, Lebanon, and even Iraq. That was our situation going into Gaza on that week when we were hit by 460 rockets. And Prime Minister Netanyahu made a decision, which was a tough decision politically, that carried a high political cost. And he decided to not fall into the trap of Mahmoud Abbas. We decided not to fall into Iran's trap, and not to let Hamas have the determining say in when we go to war, how we go to war, the nature of the war. And he delayed the decision. And I came out publicly, not just because I served in his office as the deputy minister. I came out because I thought this was the responsible decision, just on the basis of what we know. Not to fall into the trap of Iran, not to fall in the trap of the Palestinian Authority, and not to get bogged down in yet another tactical war. The outcome of which we didn't know, because at the end of that war, even when if the IDF would be successful in ousting Hamas from the Gaza Strip, we'd be left holding this set of keys to Hamas, to Gaza. And we'd be sitting there saying to the world, okay, who's going to take the keys to Gaza? And nobody would have taken those keys. So we made a difficult decision, a responsible decision, but at the same time, we cannot afford to overlook the opportunity presented by what occurred last week. What's the opportunity? The opportunity is right now Israel in its international relations. We've had the president of Chad here today. Recently, the prime minister has visited Oman. We've had other ministers visiting Dubai and visiting Bahrain. These are extraordinary times for us. Israel's in a unique position. We have in the Trump administration, and I hope this won't be too controversial, we have the friendliest administration that this country has ever known since its founding in 1948. And it's not too controversial. And I say this unequivocally because this friendliness is not just in the person of the president, it is across the board. It is the Secretary of State, it is the National Security Advisor, it is still the Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. It is a deep friendship, which is I always give applause for Nikki Haley. I hope she appreciates this. By the way, even in left-wing organizations, I get applause for Nikki Haley. It's very, very reassuring. It's a unique opportunity for us. But we can't lose sight of the fact that this administration will not be in the White House indefinitely. At most 6 years, at least 2 years. It's not a great amount of time. And that eventually, certainly if we want to move anywhere substantively on the peace process, we're going to have to deal with Hamas and Gaza. And we want to do it at a time when we have this friendly administration in Washington. We want to do it now when we have these close relationships with our Sunni neighbors in the region. And to reach an understanding both with the United States and with major Arab country players about the day after. Because I have no doubt that the IDF can take care of Hamas. The question is, what happens the day after? What is the future of Gaza? And how can we ensure that a Hamas-like regime, once again, will not take over the Gaza Strip? That is the opportunity, and we must not miss it. It is extremely important. If we're talking about this administration as well, this morning I was on the radio being interviewed about the reported delay in the publication of the Trump administration's peace plan. I say reported because it hasn't been substantiated in any other source. I don't want to shock anybody here. Not everything that appears in the Israeli press is true. Not everything. So I don't know for a fact whether it's been delayed or not. There was conventional wisdom that it was delayed during the course of the summer to get beyond the midterm elections in Congress, which would tend to indicate, if true, that there were aspects of this peace plan that may prove difficult for Israel. But I must tell you that the president has not in any way dissembled the fact that he believes that there'll be parts of this peace plan that'll be problematic for both sides. Be difficult. He has tweeted as such. His envoys have stated as much. But having said that, he wants the plan. The plan of the century, the Holy Grail, whatever you want to call it, he wants it. His envoys are very serious. They are, the president has not appointed envoys to virtually any other issue in the world. He has at least 3 operating here on a daily basis. Sometimes we get up to number 5. They are very serious people indeed. They're business people with a different model. They're a different model than what we have known before. In the business model, everyone who comes to the table, it has to be prepared to make concessions. Anybody who leaves the table has to pay a price for leaving the table. That never happened in the last 30 years. The Palestinians left again and again. Not only did they not pay a price, they got rewarded for leaving the table. And under the Trump business approach to diplomacy, the first plan is the best plan. The second plan is a less good plan. The third plan is a less good plan still. Whereas in the world of diplomacy, no one looks at any plan until it's the 4th or 5th plan. That would be a big mistake to ignore the first plan. Now, having said that, I don't know when this plan is going to be put on the table. I do not know what is in the plan, even though I maintain fairly close connections with these envoys. I don't ask them. For me, it's like, it's like how hot dogs are made. I prefer not to know. I don't want to know what's in their plan. I have an idea of what's in the plan, and I trust these gentlemen because they do care deeply about the state of Israel and our security. They'll do nothing in any way to impair our security. But having said all that, knowing that there'll be parts of this plan that may prove difficult, certainly for Israel under its present coalition to accept, and we've already had Israeli ministers, I understand some of them will be speaking to you tomorrow, Nissan, who've already come out and said it's a waste of time, forget about it, we're not interested, we're going to reject it. It is a huge, huge mistake. It is a missed opportunity. Let's begin with the fact that, again, with this administration, I don't think we'd ever get a better deal with any other administration, certainly compared to the previous administration. Our relationship with this Sunni world has never been better. The country has never been stronger, both economically and militarily. You know, the IDF is more than twice as large as the French and British armies combined. It's extraordinary. And if there was ever a time to move forward to a change of the status quo in our relationship with the Palestinians, and a change in that status quo that would take a lot of the wind out of the sails of BDS and other delegitimizing movements in the world, and put us on a different footing, this would be the moment to do it. And let us not lose sight of the broader strategic picture. We're going to need this administration within the next either 6 years or 2 years to address issues which are vital to our national security, whether it be in Iran, in Syria, in Gaza, in the UN, and other crucial issues. Let's not in any way alienate this administration, not even risk alienating this administration. Let us say yes. Let us say yes, 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 as many times as we possibly can. If once in a while we have to say yes, but we must let the other side for a change, the Palestinians, say no. Let them be the people who say no to peace. And I believe that will be taking advantage of a tremendous historic opportunity right now. Alas, you would take a tragic event, a deeply tragic event, like the massacre at the Esta Chaim synagogue in Pittsburgh several weeks ago. Now, it's hard to look at that event as any way as presenting an opportunity. Clearly, there's a danger. And clearly, we have to navigate very carefully. Because I think I've said in very clear terms today that we owe a tremendous debt to this administration, which has recognized this city as our capital, which has moved America's embassy to this capital. A tremendous debt, and we must say that publicly and say thank you. At the same time, we have to be sensitive and show sensitivity to a very large segment, I would say a majority segment of the American Jewish community that feels otherwise. And it's very difficult for us. It's very difficult to even tell you something on a personal level, people in my own family, they love Israel, I guess they love me. And yet, when I mention Jerusalem or mention withdrawal, the administration's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear program, they'll say yes, but. And we have to be sensitive to that. It is difficult to see how that horrible event in Pittsburgh can present an opportunity to Israel today in establishing our foreign relations. And it is this. I have, for many years, been involved in Israel's relationship with the American Jewish community and the entire American Jewish community. I played an instrumental role in negotiating the Kotel arrangement. 2.5 years of negotiations, very tough negotiations. In the end, unfortunately, most of that agreement was frozen by my own government, and I objected to the move. I hope it can be unfrozen and we can move forward. But having said that, we have a situation which has gone on for many years, not just under this government, but really going back to 1948, when the state of Israel has not recognized the reform and conservative movements in the United States as legitimate Jewish movements. And that has become increasingly painful for the Jews who belong to these movements. They're the largest two movements of American Jewry, at a time when American Jewry is challenged by assimilation, when it feels deeply threatened by rising anti-Semitism on the right and the left. This is not the time for this community to be alienated in any way from the state of Israel, particularly for young liberal American Jews. And if you look at the statistics about their feelings about the state of Israel, it's very disturbing indeed. Having said that, we have to, when American Jewish leaders come here, especially from the reform conservative movement, I always tell them to say, when you speak to Israelis, don't speak Jewish, speak Israeli. What does that mean? American Jewish leaders will come here and they'll talk about pluralism, as they should. They may talking about the Kotel, they may talk about women's rights, they may talk about freedom of expression, freedom of religion. That's definitely talking Jewish. I tell them to talk Israeli. What's speaking Israeli is mentioning a statistic that comes out of this ministry, the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, that states that 6.35% of our GDP is made up of donations and investment from diaspora Jews, particularly for the American Jewish community. 6.35% of our GDP amounts to 60 billion shekels, which is our defense budget. So you can say to Israelis, do you want to risk your defense budget by not recognizing the reform and conservative movement in the United States? There are now 36 Jewish members of Congress after the midterms. All of them are reform, every single one of them. The Americans give us nearly $4 billion in military aid per year. Do you want to jeopardize that? This is speaking very Israeli. Forgive me. Speaking Israeli. And it's an argument we have to proceed. We have to pursue. We have to bring to a point where individual Israelis, almost irrespective of their religious outlook, of their political outlook, understand that our relationship with diaspora Jewry, and particularly with the American Jewish community and the major movements in that American Jewish community, are vital for our national well-being and security. And it's not just a matter of Jewish unity, but of course it is. Of course it is. In a New York Times op-ed that I published a few days after the Pittsburgh massacre, I called on my own government to finally recognize the reform and Jewish reform and conservative movements in the United States. And that this was a very fitting response to this horrible event in a way of shoring up American Jewry and showing that we truly stood with them at this difficult moment. But beyond that, I mentioned in this article that only a few weeks before we had passed a cardinal piece of legislation, the Basic Law, called the Nationality Law, Chok HaLaom. And the law states expressly that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people, of all the Jewish people, irrespective of where they live, irrespective of how they practice or choose not to practice their Judaism. And that by recognizing the reform and conservative movement, we were actually complying with the statute that we ourselves had passed, which had obligated us to do that. To me, to my mind, making that move would be taking advantage of a strategic opportunity. It would be avoiding pitfalls and making this country stronger in our international relations. So whether it be on the issue of Gaza, whether it be on the peace process, or in our relationship with world Jewry, particularly with American Jewry, we have to continue to be that small but smart and nimble state that can navigate, that can negotiate, that knows when to take a strategic move, when to take a difficult decision, when to take a risk, so that someday we won't find ourselves in a cave like this, fleeing a large enemy, and end up like Zedekiah. That is the lesson of our history, and as a historian, I think the history remains very, very pertinent to today. Tודה רבה.